Welcome back, you beautiful humans, messy loves. Welcome back to another episode of Sex, Drugs, and Soul. Today, I have on Alex Ruiz, an Emmy Award-winning animator and artist, body paint extraordinaire. He's worked on, he's also a teacher. He's worked on The Simpsons, The Avengers, Beauty and the Beast, which I just discovered yesterday, which is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, I would love, thank you first off for coming on here. I don't know if you really know just how like beautiful that session was with you and like how much symbology it also held for me, like a death rebirth moment. And I just really like appreciate you for coming on and can't wait to dive into your story more and go into the peaks and valleys and inspiration and all the things. So
Yes, great to be here, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you. I'm curious, like when I'm envisioning little Alex, were you always into art or?
Yeah, ever since I was old enough to hold a pencil or a crayon, probably about 2 or 3 years old. And then I just never stopped.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
always.
cool. And your parents always encouraged you?
Yeah, there was a lot of encouragement in the form of, well, here's some art supplies. You seem to like it. So go. There was never any discouragement as far as you're never going to make money as an artist. You're going to be a doctor like Uncle so-and-so. You're going to bring in money. You're going to support your family. Artists don't make money. There was none of that to block my way of becoming an artist, thankfully. Yeah.
That's awesome. I definitely had a little bit of both. Like one set where like you can have whatever you want. And then one was like, you might want to go to college for a backup plan.
Right.
So so I guess you always knew you wanted to be an artist, like as a wee little lad. What was your first dream and vision, like going into high school and college?
Well, I think it started with just being very inspired by everything that I was watching as far as cartoons and toys and He-Man and Transformers and Inspector Gadget and Garfield. I mean, I could go down the list of hundreds of things that I was inspired by. And then I would just draw them because I was so inspired. Then I would just start copying them. And that was how I spent most of my time, even to this day, is whenever I'm inspired by something. And usually it's people or faces. I'll create a portrait for someone and then somehow find a way to get it to them. And that starts a relationship with me and the people that I'm inspired by. So it's a great art as a lead into a relationship with someone has been kind of my, I don't want to say tactic, but just a method that I use to, let's say I want to meet someone who's kind of up there and I'm inspired by. I create a piece of art for them and I find a way to get it to them somehow and then develop a relationship with them.
That's cool. So it goes from like being inspired. I always think of it like in spirit and then helping like foster that connection and community. Cool. Like noted.
Yes.
Do you ever keep things or any pieces of art for yourself or do you share like a lot of it or?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yes, I have hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of art that no one has ever seen. And I have shared thousands of pieces of art over the years. I've basically hoarded an obscene amount of artwork I've created. And so half the time it seems that I'm doing it just for me, just for my enjoyment of it. However, in the past few years, my love of art has kind of been taking a different road in that the way that I describe it is this, art is my lover and now we are separated. Yeah. It's kind of a thing. I know, right? And so even though I create art these days, it's not with the same passion. It's like being in a relationship where you're just kind of going through the motions.
Like relationship roommates or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm constantly in this struggle with the muse these days. And I feel what that's been telling me is I need to start sharing my story more, hence being here with you.
Oh,
I need
good.
to start teaching more.
Mm.
I need to stop hiding in my art cave and creating art, because that's pretty much what I've done my entire life, is just hide and make art.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel the message coming through of like, no, you need to get out and talk more about it. You need to teach it. And hence the struggle of the inner artist and the teacher that is needing to come out and be with the world. And now I'm trying to find that new balance of creating art, falling in love with art again. And the session you and I did was magical. It was so magical. And in those situations when I'm body painting, that's kind of a newer thing in the past couple of years, is using the body as a canvas. And I just kind of fell into it, and I realized, oh my God, I love this. And so that is where I really feel that connection to the muse, and I fall back in love with art, is when there's another person there and I'm literally painting on them. Yeah.
It was like definitely a portal of presence and like, and sensuality for me. I'm like, oh, I can feel like the paint drop, dribble down to my belly button, the cold temperature. I'm like, I'm feeling everything. It was so beautiful. Just felt so alive and present and collaborative. I love too kind of what you said about doing it for yourself and maybe not as goal oriented, or because what comes up for me sometimes is judgment. So do you, like, how would you suggest someone, or how do you, with your own self-judgment, release it or go toe to toe with it or whatever, what I'm getting at?
Yeah. So obviously finding the time and space to actually create. And I feel, even for me, but I see so many people, they tell me, well, I just don't have the time to create. And then I say, well, then it probably doesn't mean that much to you. And they're like, don't tell me what it means to me. And I'm like, all right, well, you got to find the time and the space, right? And then there's the element of like, well, I can't draw, I can't paint, I suck, right? And then I ask, well, do you want to get better? And most people say, well, yeah, right? And it's like, okay, you need to practice just like anything else. If you're going to run a marathon, you need to practice and train for 6 months or a year before that. And so it is a lot of sitting with yourself or taking classes from teachers such as myself, or going to group workshops, like the one we met at.
Love that workshop.
That was a great one.
That I still have in my face. And like I had a story that I was like, the only thing I can draw is like this little face, like little smiley face. And, but that it gave me a different level of confidence and exploring. Like I've been, even since our body paint session, feeling like the well of creativity. So I went and did a silversmith workshop and made a ring, and
Nice.
just trying out things more too.
Yeah.
So I guess like the power of consistency then, or just showing up, because I do believe we prioritize the things that are important to us. So like if someone wants to increase or strengthen their art muscle, it's like put in some reps.
Put in some reps.
Yeah,
exactly.
even if it's like 15 minutes, I think. And for those sessions, and I've been trying to adapt this in multiple aspects of life, as far as more flow and not forcing or releasing attachment to a certain outcome or goal. How do you do that?
How do you do it? Yeah. That's a hard thing to not do.
Yeah.
At least for me, because every time I'm working on a drawing or a piece or a painting these days, I am thinking about its presentation. I'm thinking about how it could potentially be received. And so, yeah, that's all kind of going through my head when I'm creating. And yeah, that's a tricky thing to turn off. I find that when you're working with other people or just hanging out with other people and making art, that's less there. And it's probably because you're with other people's energy, and you're there for the love of art, and you're having a good time, and you're talking about life and all this stuff while creating. So that's another thing I've been breaking away over the past few years, is just doing it alone, which I've created my best work alone. And I still think in the future, that's how I'm going to create my best work. But you could start a painting with a friend or a group or a class. You could start 10 paintings, right? And then you go and work on them yourself alone, right? And then maybe go back with a group. There's many different ways of doing it, but there's this great book called Your Brain on Art. And it talks about if you just do one art workshop a month or one art experience, they get together with friends or paint or draw or sing or dance or write, that will extend your life
Wow.
by like 10 years in the long run.
Wow.
And these are studied, scientific backed studies, right, that confirm the healing power of creativity. So that's something I'm excited to start teaching, literally teaching concepts in this book and many other books on creativity, and how creativity is kind of like this dying thing in this world. I read this stat on Gallup poll the other day where creativity is at an all-time low in pretty much every major business, at least in the US, costing billions, if not trillions of dollars in lack of productivity because people don't know how to access creativity again. And so I'm excited to get out there in companies, do public speaking, doing workshops, and helping people to engage in their inner creativity, which is unique to everyone.
I love that. When you were speaking, I was getting like a vision of you like helping a company.
Yes.
It's like, and then like having people, like, okay, today we're gonna do something.
That's it. And I'm super excited about doing
that.
So I'm starting to ideate that and set that up. What a public speaking art workshop tour is going to look like for me in the next, moving forward from now on till, as long as I can stand and walk and create art and speak about it.
Yeah, I definitely think that you mentioned like a healing power to it too. I didn't realize just how much like I thought even like my book, I thought I was writing it for like a younger version of me, still in that lost pain or chaos or someone of like a similar strife. And so, but then going on that journey, it was like so many aha moments, so many connect the dots, or just, crying moments, very alchemical. It's like through the process of like the journey of it was so beautiful. I would love to touch on how you discovered the healing power of art, or even like go a little bit more of the journey from, working as an animator and artist to how you found that you wanted to step into teaching or lead workshops, speak, do all those things. Because I'm guessing it wasn't just linear.
Never is. Never is it? Yeah. So while on The Simpsons, I discovered a new kind of art, and I was already getting sick of The Simpsons. I was on the show 8.5 years at this point. It's a long time.
That's a good run.
On one show, on one project, and I was literally going insane. Like, I can't draw these big-eyed yellow characters anymore. Like, I'm meant for something bigger, and I'm grateful for the experience, but it was what they call a golden handcuffs situation, getting paid a lot of money to work on this incredibly popular project. And yet I was just so deeply unfulfilled as an artist. And so I find the visionary artwork of some other artists, in particular Android Jones, who is one of the greatest artists I've ever experienced and seen in my life. And so I'm looking at his work, and it's wild and beautiful and colorful and psychedelic. And then I learned he's doing this on the computer, and I didn't even own a computer at the time. This was in 2003. And I'm like, how do you even first of all, how do you even think about creating art like this? Second, you're doing it on a computer? Like, what the fuck? So for me, it was just like this very humbling moment of like, I want to do this. Like, how am I going to do this? Here I am drawing these big-eyed characters, and I'm seeing this artwork that's blowing my mind. So it was like learning how to walk again is how I describe it. I was a big fish in the Simpsons small pond, and now I'm wanting to jump out into a larger ocean of incredible artists. And I'm like, I can't do this. Just the overwhelm of like, how am I going to do this? I can't do this. Just the lack of confidence, just everything was just ate at me for years. And so I was still working on The Simpsons, and by night I was training in this new modality of digital painting and really getting back into human anatomy. I feel all the best art in the world ever created stems from knowledge of the body. So I really got back into that. And for about 3 years, I didn't post any of this new stuff. I was super embarrassed because it looked like shit, in my opinion. And it really did, because it was like a brand new artist learning how to draw like stick figures. That's how my digital paintings were. It was just very awful. And after about 3 years, someone was like, you should start posting. Some of this is kind of okay. And I was like, no, they're going to laugh at me. Like, and I wasn't going to post my Simpsons stuff because I didn't want to be associated with the Simpsons at that point. I'm like, I'm a serious artist now. Serious artists don't draw cartoons. So I kind of put that in the background, and it was on my resume, but I didn't really talk about it unless people brought it up to me. So it was a very difficult early transition of breaking away from one style of creativity into another. And it was that point of deciding to be what was called a conceptual artist. And it took me 10 years to get my next professional job. And I had freelance jobs in between them. But while within that 10 years, a school reached out to me and they're like, hey, you're pretty good. Can you teach this stuff? And I'm like, I don't work in this industry. Like they're like, we don't care as long as you could teach what you're doing here to our students. And that was in 2009. And that's when I realized, oh, I didn't need to be a professional conceptual artist to teach concept art. So then I started teaching, and I started loving it and going to weekly classes where I was teaching at different, more vocational schools in Los Angeles. And I started teaching online. And then I started getting professional work. So it was like, okay, I got good at it because I wanted to. And then schools reached out to me and they're like, can you teach this? And so I started that process. And then I started getting professional jobs. So it's kind of like a backwards way. And
that's cool though.
And yeah.
And like you were teaching them the computer, like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much everything from computer to even drawing on pencil, paper, right? Where that's the most basic way anyone can start is pencil and paper. And I still love pencil and paper. And now, especially in the age of AI.
I was going to ask you this.
Yeah. Where everyone's a digital artist.
Yeah.
Because they can write a prompt and then they get an output and they post it and they're like, look what I made. I'm an AI artist now. And it's very, very sensitive subject for me and a lot of my friends who have, lost a lot of business because of this. And when I first noticed the power of this artificially created imagery, I don't even call it artwork, because artwork is the intention of making something through the crafting and the process, right? There is none of that in AI. There's none of that. Maybe there's some in prompting and writing, which is interesting. But the output, there is no one who is sitting there with a brush or pencil drawing this stuff out. The machine did it. And it's like, who is the machine? We live in a very strange world where now machines are creating art. So I had a business that started in 2018 where I was just creating digital portraits of people. And in early mid 22, when the AI explosion started happening, that business died like overnight, literally overnight. People stopped reaching out to me because they're like, why do I need to pay him? I can just upload my pictures into this app. And it gives me all those dope versions of myself.
I think I remember that app.
Yeah, and like everyone was doing it.
Yes,
and
it was a
every
trend.
day I saw and some friends were hitting me up and they're like, hey, how do you feel about this? Like, I could sense that you probably don't like this, but I want to try it. Like they were asking for my permission. I'm like, do it. It's great. Because secretly I was hoping to stop doing those portraits. Careful what you wish for kind of thing. And so overnight that business died, but it gave me a new sense of relief of like, okay, now I'm going to start doing other creative things. It's not all about portraits. So
it's like those moments of setback that can slingshot us in a different direction, or like whether it's rejection as redirection, or asking you got your wish granted, maybe not in the way that you anticipated.
But because then I was like, how else am I going to make money? You know? And so getting more back into teaching, right? And now that kind of that phase of AI has died out in a certain way. People are contacting me again for portraits.
Oh, good.
Because they're like, I want a real human to create my portrait. I'm done looking at this AI art. It's too perfect. It's too slick. And I want a real artist to do it. So I feel that